All right, guys. So I just heard about this. All right. I do love Saturday Night Live. I don't watch it like every week or anything like that. Usually, I used to watch the whole show every week, but since I started doing reactions, like everything that I would have normally watched, that's all changed. Because I don't know what sketches might be in that episode I might want to do a reaction to. So I don't want to, by default have the whole thing spoiled. You know what I'm saying? You know, I won't normally do reviews, reacting to something I've already seen, unless I think there's an important message I need to talk about. You know what I'm saying? Then I'll do the review because I have something specific I want to bring up, right? So that's what I'll do reviews. Most of the stuff on Saturday Night Live, though, is more for entertainment, all right? But they do have some sketches that have underlying important messages, right? That isn't like completely obvious at first until you start to peel back the layers and you see the message, right? You got to read between the lines and think, well, how does this make sense, like in the real world, right? For example, they had a fake commercial. It was called 𝕥𝕤𝕤. They were the ugliest pants you ever seen, and they're all the same, right? They fit everybody. There's no one for men, one for women. They're all the same, right? Now, I'm talking the ugliest pants, all right? No sane person would ever wear those pants, except for snowflakes would apparently wear them, and that's what they're digging at. They're saying snowflakes want everybody to be the same, right? They asked the people in the so-called commercial, what size do they come in? They said, I don't know. Do they come in person? So they're basically saying that woke ideology is that essential topic, right? They're digging at woke culture like really bad, all right? And it is hilarious. So I came across this. I saw someone, Ben Shapiro, made a video about this recently. I typically don't agree with Ben Shapiro. I typically don't agree with right in general, right? On some things I do. When it comes to abortion, I take sides with the right on that specific issue. So here's my take on it. If someone is wanting this due to extreme circumstances, that issue would not come up after 6 weeks. That would be dealt with right then and there. You know what I'm saying? You would, go to the hospital for a test kit, right? I'm sure you guys know what we're talking about. After an assault, they will do a test kit. They'll collect samples. Then, at that point in time, the question of, are you going to become pregnant, would come up at that point, okay? That is when to deal with that issue, not 6 weeks down the road, okay? So I don't even understand why that specific issue comes up when we're talking about this. You know what I'm saying? Like, why does that even come up? That's not something, the other thing too, even for most people who are pro-life, wouldn't argue too much against people having that procedure done who has been assaulted, okay? I can see possibly a very, very small amount of exceptions, okay? Children, for example, should not have children, okay? You should not have, especially if it's due to assault, right? I think most people, even the most extreme pro-life person, could see the damage that would do to a young girl, right? I mean, she's in school, she's not going to want to have other teenagers looking at her and seeing that she's pregnant, okay? So that right there is life-altering circumstances, right? Bullying is a really hard thing for some people to deal with. Now, I try and put myself in other people's shoes and just try to see the world how they would see it, right? And to see the world from her point of view, let's just say she's 12 years old, she got assaulted from someone she's really close to. We're not going to go any further than that. Let's just say someone she's really close to. And then to be told she has to carry that child, she has to go to school, right? And be called a whore, be called all these other things, and have people passing around flyers that this person is this and that, and just completely trashing her and ridiculing her over something that is not her fault, right? I'm telling you guys, I think even the most extreme pro-life person would look at a case like that and say, it is a sad thing that this has happened to her, but we cannot punish the victim. She had nothing to do with creating this child, and therefore, she's also a child, right? We shouldn't, in my opinion, on this specific scenario, is that we shouldn't let someone assault someone, but then have a prolonged assault, right? To drastically alter her entire life when there's nothing she can do about it. Because keep in mind, for this scenario, we're talking about a child, right? 11 years old, 13, 14, 15. These are children. They should not be having children. You know what I'm saying? Even though technically they might be able to, this is not something that we should force on them, especially if it was due to an assault. All right? If you're not mature enough to make your own decisions in life, to actually consent to that type of activity, then how could we expect them to adhere to laws and regulations, right? To do with having a baby? I don't think we can. I don't think we can, right? That is not to say that that unborn child does not have any significant value, because it does. I liked how James A. Janice put it. Just because, when he was talking about Freddy Krueger, just because a baby might be product of an assault That has nothing to do with whether or not that child is going to, continue that cycle. Has no bearing on that child whatsoever. And I think really to keep that from happening is something that probably that child should not know about. All right. We don't need to know everything, especially if he's not in the picture anymore. You know what I'm saying? I think with that, it's better to just leave that in the past. Do your best to cope with it, but to talk about it and bring it up is kind of risky. All right. Because you never know what Pandora's box you might be opening. Children want to be like their parents, and if you got a child who's solely focused on being accepted by their parents, then well, you just might be opening a Pandora's box you can never close. All right. So that's a very touchy subject right there. All right. So here's the way I look at it. If an assault results in an abortion, I don't think we should blame the person who had the abortion. They had nothing to do with the assault. It wasn't planned. They had, it was forced on them. The perpetrator, in my opinion, forced their hand into having to make that decision. If they end up having an abortion due to an assault, the perpetrator is directly responsible and should be charged for murder. Now, that sort of brings us into a very touchy subject, okay? Should all abortions result in murder charges? I think a lot of them probably should. I think it depends on the time frame of when that occurred. I think if you were to take birth control directly after conception, right? Then I don't think that is in that realm, right? To me, that is being responsible. That is, stopping it from actually creating something that is going to, have feelings. And the process has started, don't get me wrong. But once you have a fully formed child, at that point, it's a no-go. Absolutely. So here's the thing that I'm going to go ahead and address, all right? They say it's a woman's body, it's her right to choose what happens with her body. Sure, that's a solid argument. What about the child's body? Can we ask that child, do you consent to having this procedure done? Or would you like the ability to have life, right? They obviously can't ask that child. It's not even born yet. It can't communicate. So someone has to be an advocate for that child. For anyone who's pro-choice, my question to you, where do you draw the line, right? Let's imagine a woman gives birth, takes the child home because she wasn't allowed to have an abortion. She kills the child. Is that not murder? Yes. She now has a living human being and she has taken its life. That is murder. All right. Let's imagine the woman wants the child, takes the child home. Father doesn't want the child. It suddenly dawns on him, wait a minute, this is going to change the rest of my life. If I leave her, I could be faced with child support. If I lose my job and can't pay, I go to jail. I don't like this. He kills the child. Does he get charged for murder? Yes. Give you another scenario. What if the woman wants the child? She's still in pregnancy stage. She has a fully formed child. It suddenly dawns on the father, just like in the last scenario, except he's going to stop it from getting to that point. He's going to start drugging her with birth control pills to terminate the pregnancy. Does he get charged for murder? Hell yes. Absolutely, he gets charged for murder. He also gets charged for poisoning a person that he is supposed to love and care about, right? It is a very dangerous thing to give anyone medicine without their knowledge or consent. You cannot do that. There was a story, I don't remember where it was. It was one of those crime shows, I think, where that specific scenario happened. That's where I actually got the story from. I don't remember what show it was, but he inevitably killed the child, and the investigators eventually told him, well, you succeeded. The child did die, but guess what? She also died. So you got 2 murder charges coming. How about that? So here's what I'm saying. It is essentially the same thing for a woman to have an abortion at that stage during her pregnancy. Same thing for a man to poison her and give her whatever it is to try to terminate the pregnancy. It's the same thing. He would get charged for murder, and she should also. I'm conflicted on this, right? Or at least I was until I saw this clip. I went through and I wanted to get some more information because the sketch in itself does not make any sense at all. I love Cecily Strong. She is a fantastic comedian. I love that she, tries to support rights for women. There's nothing wrong with that. The stance she has, however, isn't right. Okay? From what I can see, she is completely pro-choice. That is not correct, in my opinion. I think what has happened here is that people who take this stance, right, have become desensitized to the subject in general because they've heard that there is nothing wrong with this. It is, not a human being yet. It is unborn, right? And that is what has happened. They haven't really taken the time to fully think about this, right? That you have a human being and you're just going to take its life because it's an inconvenience for you. They always seem to bring up the fact, yeah, well, it's my body. I should do with it what I want. But nobody ever brings up the child's body. What about them? I don't think they would consent to having that done, right? But it's all about her rights. It's also never about the man. So here's the way I see it. The day a woman can have a child without having been with a man, then it would be her decision and only hers, because there would have been no one else involved, right? But that is not possible. So just because a woman has, the most responsibility in this as far as carrying the child, taking the necessary precautions, right diet, all that types of stuff, right? Not trying to take away from that. So there is a higher responsibility level, right? Because we don't have any role in that part. We do have to contribute something, though, in order for that process to start happening. That process does not happen without us. It is, it takes two to get that process going, all right? So now for any pro-choice advocate, so what if the mother wants to have an abortion, but the father does not? Now, he says, that is my child. You are not having that procedure done, okay? Whose side are you going to take on that? You can't say he doesn't have any authority whatsoever. He is right. That is his child. She is right. That is her child. They are both the parents. Here's another thing. If a man has an unwanted child, right? Didn't plan on it. Let's just say he doesn't have a job. He doesn't have any skills. And so when she takes him to court over child support, that is going to be his response. I don't have a job. I don't know what to do, right? What is the judge going to tell him? You should have thought about that before you had this activity, right? Without taking precautions. You have to be a man now and take care of this child, no matter what it takes. If you have to go flip hamburgers, go and start putting applications and start flipping hamburgers so you can pay for this child that you helped create. Let's focus in on that part right there. You helped create. Apparently, for some people, they don't factor that in. They think, yes, if a man has a child, he should help take care of it. But then they say, yeah, but if a woman has a child, she has the right to, do you see what I'm saying? They just say, oh, well, you made a mistake. You can go ahead and have this procedure done and it all goes away, right? It's a double standard. There were two people involved in making the decisions that led to that pregnancy, all right? Not one. If one is going to get the book thrown at him, saying, you need to be a man and take care of this child, why don't they say the same thing to her? You need to be a woman and take care of this child. So that's all I'm saying. If you're going to put him in that boat, you got to put her in that boat too. They both made those decisions together. You know what I'm saying? If you're not ready for that responsibility, then you're not ready to have that particular activity. You know what I'm saying? So there's that. So now we finally get to what I think about the sketch overall. She explains it perfectly in this interview. She doesn't know it, okay? But she explains it. We're going to watch her short interview, this one clip that perfectly illustrates to me how she really feels about the subject. Now, a few people have said she put on this act of being a clown because it's kind of foolish to have this point of view. And I absolutely agree with that. But I don't think that's the real reason. That's not the real reason why she had to put on this costume.
Cecily, I'm Goober. And I wish I didn't have to do this, because the abortion I had at 23 is my personal clown business. But that's all some people in this country want to discuss all the time, even though clown abortion was legalized in Clown v. Wade in 1973. Here.
The reason he calls me Cecily in the middle of it was, again, to just, I guess, for that meta, so this is me and I'm the clown and this is my experience, and like, no, don't call me Cecily, I'm playing a character. I could have dressed as myself, but I was dressing as a clown because it wouldn't have felt comfortable to just be myself. And again, like, there's a protection in it too. Like, I'm just a clown, you can't get mad at me.
Hey, did you know what?
There you go. I think that says it perfectly. If you don't feel comfortable being yourself and talking about something that you experienced in your own life, and you can't justify that without disassociating yourself from that, that story, then therein lies a lot of shame. She says, what she tries to say is that it's her view of how people would see her, right? So she says, yeah, but if they just see the clown, then, oh, don't get mad at me, I'm just playing a character, right? It has nothing to do with how other people would view the sketch. Nothing. This is a self-judgment. She is judging herself. I think people were right when they said she's dressed like a clown, saying, this is how I feel. I feel like a clown because I've done this. It doesn't come off that way in the sketch, though. In the sketch, she's trying to say, oh, so many people have done it. It's not that big a deal. If she really felt that way, I think she would have just came out there as Cecily Strong and said those things. But she would not have felt comfortable to put her name next to that sentence. If I'm wrong, then Cecily Strong, make a video of you saying, I am Cecily Strong, and I support this message. No clown makeup, no funny gags, no nothing. just Cecily Strong saying, I support everything I said in the sketch. I don't think she fully realizes or even possibly comprehends that there is a lot of self-judgment within this portrayal right here. Somewhere in the back of her mind, she knows this is wrong and I should not have done this. Because remember, 𝕉𝕚 the clown has nothing to do with this, right? This is Cecily Strong that did that. That was not, 𝕉𝕚 the clown doesn't exist. That is a character. You see what I'm saying? So I was hoping, when I first heard about this, I was hoping that this was not based on her personal experience. Unfortunately, it is. Another point that people brought up is that this is not a laughing matter, right? This is not something that belongs in sketch comedy. And I completely agree. I think if you're going to talk about an issue like this, there should be no clowns, there should be no silly gags, there shouldn't be any of that. She should have came out there as Cecily Strong and gave her honest opinion about the matter. I think Cecily Strong needs to do some soul searching and maybe listen to the people who are pro-life and sort of get to a point where you can understand where they're coming from. You know what I'm saying? Adoption does exist. There's nothing wrong with saying, I made a mistake, but I will do the very least I can. I will have the child, and then I will give them up for adoption. I think that is the very least a mother could do. All right? And keep in mind, I think even before there's a heartbeat, if it's a fully formed child and there's brain activity, I think that's probably when heartbeat, brain activity, anything like that, it's a no-go. You know what I'm saying? Like if you are, they always say to criminals, don't do the crime if you can't do the time. That's my philosophy here. All right? Same principle. Don't do the activity if you can't be responsible for the outcome of that activity. Who knew that activity could lead to that? Whoever knew that? You know what I'm saying? Like, you're an adult and you're saying, oh, I've made a mistake. I should have known better. Yes, you should have known better. And now you're going to have to own up to that mistake and deal with the consequences. These are consequences. This is life. There's no do-overs. At least there shouldn't be. If a man assaults a woman, he has to deal with the consequences of that action. He can't go to trial and say, oh, I didn't know I would get in trouble for that. Who cares? That does not make it okay. You're still going to have to go to jail for a very long time because you did that. You know what I'm saying? Ignorance of the law is no excuse. You still broke the law. You still have to do the time. The last point I want to bring up, I think a lot of Democrats, when they run on this platform, a lot of them may not even support it themselves. But I think what they believe, if they don't run on that platform and they are a Democrat, they will not get any votes. Let me just tell you something. That is horrible. No candidate should ever run on a platform they don't believe in. Possibly looking at you, Herschel Walker. It looks like he supported it when he was younger and it directly affected his life. Now, all of a sudden, he doesn't support it when it has nothing to do with him. But he wants the votes. That's what I think is happening. I think he does support abortion. I think he just wants the Republican votes. Because if the Republicans know that he supports abortion, they're not going to vote for him. And he wanted those votes. That's my personal opinion. I could be wrong. If you guys disagree, please put in the comments and explain, what facts I might have missed. Because I didn't research a lot into that. If you guys have requests for topics you want me to look into and do some videos about, by all means, put in the comments and let me know. Now, I have another channel. It's called Reactions with 𝕒𝕜. That channel's been going for about a year, a little bit over a year. I've done a lot of research on that channel. If you go back and watch my first videos, don't be too harsh. I was just getting started. All right, that's it for now, y'all.